My dear friend who lives next to my world, I am writing to you because today I chose a path that few in my city take alone. I have scheduled a merge for sunset, and it will braid my memories with the ones of a version of me who worked 3 years in a maritime court. I want you to hear my voice before the braid, while my thoughts are still only mine to hold. You and I write like this because our worlds share a border that is thin when we are honest and thick when we are afraid. I am trying to make it thin. In my world, we treat identity like a living project, and we keep records like careful gardeners who mark each branch they have grown. We call the system identity version control, and it grew from hospitals that learned to copy memory with fewer scars each decade. Forking is not glamorous here, and it is not scandal, it is a tool. After school, some of us fork to try 2 different apprenticeships, and the city registry gives each of us a clear label and a continuity signature. We meet on winter mornings to exchange notes on taste and mistakes, and we joke that our diaries are commit messages written in tea. The joke is gentle, but the feeling is serious, because every choice matters twice. A fork lets a quiet person try loud work without losing the steady home life that feeds the soul. A fork lets a parent pursue a degree, while another version stays with the child for bedtime stories and cake. A fork lets a widow test whether love can bloom again, while another version keeps the house as a museum for grief until it softens. All of this has rules, and the rules are not cruel, they are careful. No one can fork another person by force, and no manager can demand it, and no lover can trick it with sweet words or tears. Consent is written and witnessed, and a small council trained in ethics walks each candidate through a checklist that feels like a mirror that asks questions. Do you want to feel 2 different joys, knowing they may never perfectly align? Do you accept that you may later merge and keep both regrets? Do you agree that a crime by one version leaves a trace that no merge can wash away? The council waits for real silence after each question, and only when the silence is settled do they accept the answer. We learned to do that because early forking was reckless, and people treated versions like tools rather than people. The public was hurt by sloppy mergers that mashed up pain and pride until families could not breathe. Now we move slowly when we change what a person is. You would ask me about love, because you always do. Love under this system is tender and practical at once, and it requires more honesty than poetry. When 2 people promise a life together, their pact includes branch clauses, and it says how many forks are allowed and when mergers are expected. Some couples allow seasonal forks for long projects, like a winter of research or a summer of caregiving, and then a reunion as the leaves turn. Some choose 3 permanent branches, 1 for shared work, 1 for personal calling, and 1 for care of elders or children. Jealousy exists, of course, and it is different here, because the rival is yourself. I have felt envy at a skill that my other self learned while I was learning patience. I have felt small when she spoke fluent legal language, and I could only speak ordinary comfort. I have also felt relief when she cried for both of us, and I could wash the bowls and hum a simple song. Merging is an art that we teach with stories, and children rehearse it using memory notebooks filled with small disagreements. Keep this taste or that taste, keep this habit or that habit, keep this secret or that secret. They learn that a merge is not a fight but a negotiation, and the goal is not victory but continuity with care. I keep a small box on my desk with objects that help me remember this. There is a river stone from a morning when I nearly refused a merge out of pride, and there is a ticket stub from a play where the lead actor had merged the night before the show and chose a softer voice. When we go to the registry to merge, the room is bright and calm, and we sit across from each other like old friends who share a body by appointment. The registrar reads a manifest that lists differences and asks for our intentions. Do we keep the habit of waking before dawn, or do we keep the one who writes late into the night? Do we keep the taste for bitter oranges, or do we keep the gentle tolerance for bland food that made our grandmother smile? We cannot keep both when they pull in opposite directions every morning, and we learn to choose with love rather than logic alone. Law follows us like a careful shadow, and it never becomes the sun. Each version has rights and duties, and a contract signed by one binds that version unless a merge later blends obligations with light and precision. Voting is one person counted once across branches, and we do this with continuity checks that feel like a firm handshake. Taxes are prorated by hours of separate activity, which sounds dry, but it stops resentment from forming. Crime is judged with the same care, and if a version steals or harms, the weight sits with that version, not with the branch that learned painting on Sundays. A merge cannot erase the debt of hurt, and it cannot scatter responsibility into dust, and our courts guard that boundary without drama. There are dark markets that try to sell identity laundering, and most of them are clumsy, and a few are clever. Investigators look for gaps in continuity and for acts that make no human sense when read as a single life. They say the human pattern is the best firewall, and I think they are right. Faith groups in my city have argued for years about souls and versioning, and some have made peace with the practice. A few hold blessings for merges with songs that rise slowly like bread, and the words ask us to keep what is generous and release what is mean. Other groups teach that a person should walk one road only, and I respect them because their devotion is honest, and they live by it without trying to rule others. The strangest prayer I ever heard was a quiet line offered by a monk who said that mercy is a merge where love decides the conflicts. I carry that line in my pocket when I work with families in trouble. My job has been to help people who fear the braid, and I meet them in kitchens that smell like garlic and in offices that smell like dust. A teacher sits with me and asks if merging will erase the new patience she learned with her students. A sailor asks if merging will bring back the taste of salt that he lost on a ship where meals were grey. OLA. A widow asks if merging will dilute her grief until her love feels false. I answer them with examples and with pauses, and I remind them that merging does not delete, it arranges. We choose defaults and fallbacks, and we keep annotations that we can search when we feel lost on a rainy night. I have witnessed merges that felt like a reunion and merges that felt like a negotiation at a border. The good ones leave a person a little tired and a lot more whole. The bad ones leave a person brittle for weeks, and we keep them close until the brittleness softens into shape. You asked once whether love survives a merge when partners fell for two slightly different versions of the same person. I have seen partners smile at a combined set of quirks like a mosaic where the blues touch the reds at a new angle. I have also seen partners step back and say that the new person is not the old one, and we treat that as a truth, not a betrayal. We let people tell the truth about who they feel safe with, and our law does not punish honesty when it is delivered with care. Children understand this better than adults, and they are quick to trust the person who kneels at their height and keeps promises. A child will accept a merged parent if the bedtime voice keeps the rhythm of the old lullaby, and the laugh still arrives on the third knock. We adults complicate what children read with ease. Work under this system is lively and sometimes unfair, and we try to fix the unfair parts with good bargaining. A cooperative of nurses forks during flu season and sets a merge date for spring, and they get hazard pay simply for the strain of living double. A factory hires a single person who can fork into a design team, and the union argues for two salaries, and they win after a year of lunchroom speeches. An artist forks to explore abstract light and documentary truth, and the gallery hosts a reunion show that lets guests vote on which brush grip the merged artist keeps. The vote matters less than the conversation, because art lives in the talk that lingers after closing time. We are not saints, and we make mistakes that bruise. There are people who try to hide behind mergers to dodge blame, and they fail because witnesses remember patterns that no signature can imitate. There are families who pressure a member to fork to meet obligations that belong to everyone, and our counselors learn to hear that pressure and resist it. There are addicts who fork to protect a sober self, and we support therapy that later helps them merge without shattering the one who stayed clean. In these cases, we are pragmatic and kind, or we try to be, and the registry stays open late. I want you to know that merging is not only documents and scanners and oaths. It is also the taste of water after a run, and the first day when both old habits fall quiet at the same time, and the house feels like a new map. People often say that the morning after a merge smells like rain, even when the street is dry. They say that music feels wider by a finger width, and that doors seem a little heavier because meaning sits on the handle with you. I trust these small reports more than I trust the bright brochures. Your world would ask me for a picture, and I can give you a story instead. Last year, 2 versions of a baker came to my desk, and one had cold hands and one had warm hands. They argued about heat in the kitchen, and they argued about early hours, and they argued about sugar prices that make a good bun too dear. We set their conflicts in a list and sorted them by depth rather than by noise. Near the end, the cold-handed baker said she had bullied the warm-handed one into hiding the tremor that started when their father died. The warm-handed baker had learned a slow need to hide the tremor, and customers loved the slow bread, and profit followed, and shame followed too. They merged with a promise to keep the slow need and to share the tremor with the staff so that no one would hide or hurry. 2 months later, the bakery had a small sign about patience and heat, and the buns sold out by noon, and I keep a wrapper in my notebook to remember the lesson. I tell you this so that you see how ethics grows in kitchens and not only in lecture halls. Sometimes a merge is a return, and sometimes it is a door, and sometimes it is a seat you move closer to the person you already love. I want to admit a fear, because my letter should not be all wisdom and no risk. I am afraid that merging with the maritime version of me will make me speak in clauses and never in songs. I am afraid that she will bring home the heavy smell of wet rope and leave no room for the smell of oranges that I keep in a bowl by the window. I am afraid that her patience with rules will muffle my patience with people. I am also hopeful in a way that makes my hands warm on this keyboard. She met families at ports where paper was cruel and the sea was kinder, and she learned how to listen until officials remembered their mothers. She learned to stand in rooms where men raised their voices and still kept her voice steady and warm. I want that strength and that listening, and I want the quiet that comes after long storms. My city is arguing this month about private forks that live off the grid, and some want to ban them because records get messy when people disappear. I think the fear is real, and I think the cure is trust, and trust needs attention and sunlight. We could fund registries better and train more counsellors and publish clearer guides, and bans are a way to avoid work while pretending to care. This is a city of neighbours, and the point of identity tools is to make neighbourly life possible, not to build new cages with new hinges. You probably wonder how a merge actually feels in the body, and I can only tell you what most of us report, and then what I once felt. Most people feel a pressure behind the eyes, as if a kind teacher is nudging them toward a bigger blackboard, and then it eases. Most people taste metal for a second and then taste bread. Most people cry a clean cry and then laugh at how simple the laugh sounds. The one time I merged after a long fork, I heard a private memory arrive like footsteps in soft shoes across a library. The memory was of my mother tucking a blanket under my feet, and I had not had that scene before, and I understood why I like heavy quilts. That is the kind of change that sticks, a detail that shifts a habit without breaking it. You might ask what we do with grief when a version is deleted, and I will answer plainly. We hold a wake with photos and recipes and work tools and notes, and we write a plain statement about why the delete was chosen. Then we keep a copy of that statement in the registry and in the house, and no one pretends that nothing happened. I have cried at these wakes, and I have listened to laughter at these wakes, and both felt honest. The rule here is that no one should be erased without a reason that can be read by a child and accepted by a grandparent. We try to meet that rule even when money or shame would prefer shadows. I am watching the clock because I must leave soon for the registry, and the light outside is the color of brass. The desk I will sit at has a small scratch shaped like a wave, and the registrar always sets a glass of water to the left so the paper stays safe. My other self will arrive in a suit that smells like wind and salt, and I will arrive in a sweater that smells like orange peel and library dust. We will sit and greet each other like cousins who remember the same summer and different storms. We will read the manifest and take turns saying keep this and keep that, and we will choose a default voice for legal work and a default voice for bedtime reading to my niece. We will keep the habit of writing to you, and we will add a monthly letter on the first Sunday after the moon turns thin. We will set a rule to revisit our anger after dinner rather than before, because anger grows thin when fed late. The registrar will ask whether we accept the consequences that flow from this merge, and we will answer yes with steady breaths. After that, the room will hum with a sound that is more like silence than like music, and then it will be done. I will walk out as a person who knows the law of storms and the taste of oranges and the weight of wet rope and the weight of kind rules. I will walk out as someone who can hear two kinds of sorrow and two kinds of joy and call them by one name. Before I go, I want to answer the question you never send but always mean. Would our world be better if your world adopted this system, or would it be worse? My answer is simple and careful. And it is this. Any tool that helps a person tell the truth about who they are and who they hope to be is a tool that can help, and it will also hurt if handled without love. Forks and merges are not destiny, they are choices that need patience and good company. Your world already makes versions in softer ways, through jobs and names and seasons and roles, and you carry them inside a single story. The work is to treat those versions with the same respect we try to give ours in public, and to forgive the edits that did not land well. If you ever come to visit, you will see a city that looks ordinary until you look twice. Two friends linger on a corner, and one is more tired and one is more brave, and both are learning to share a body again soon. A choir sings with three kinds of patience, and a baker sells buns that taste like heat and grief and joy at the same time. A registrar stands by a scratch shaped like a wave and passes a glass of water to the left with a steady hand. If you write back, tell me what in your life you would fork to test, and what you would merge to keep forever. I will read your letter by the window where the bowl of oranges glows like a small sun. I will breathe, and then I will go to meet the other me, who also loves plain words and steady work. When I return, I will be more myself and more able to keep promises. I hope that sounds less like magic and more like craft, because craft is what saves us here. From your friend who lives next to your world, with care and with steady hope. Thank you for staying with my letter until the end. It kept me company. If you enjoyed this story, please tap like and subscribe, and leave a comment to tell me what you would keep or change. If you can, please donate through the QR code at the lower right of the video or the link in the description. Your support keeps these letters alive. In the description, you will also find links to other works from entirely different series, and I think you may enjoy them on a quiet evening. I will say goodbye for now, and I hope to see you in the next episode, where I will bring back what the sea taught me about patience.